What is up, internet world, and welcome back to the channel. Today I bring you the 2022 Hyundai Elantra N. So 2021 was an awesome year. We had so much fun with all the cars we reviewed, but there's two that pop off the scale for me. The first one is the Blackwing CT5V. Ton of power, rear-wheel drive, good times. The second one I'd actually drop my money on is the Veloster N when they launched the 8-speed DCT. You see, this thing is available in 5 different colors. 2 blues, a black, a white, and gray. You know what else is gray? This thing. And this thing only happened because you subscribed. So we please subscribe. That would help us a lot. So this is the 7th generation Hyundai Elantra, but who engineered this? Is it someone that would engineer a Civic Type R? No, it's actually a guy that designed BMWs for years, the M BMW for years, Albert Biermann, and he put a lot of pieces that's reminiscent of the M cars. So if you're looking at buying an outgoing Honda Civic, which I might add is about $6,000 more expensive, you might want to consider this thing. So every single picture I have seen on this Elantra N is shown on a track, a full-out race course, everything, everywhere. You see, in Europe and in Australia, they don't have this, but they have something called the i30N, which is essentially this with a hatchback. But they have something called track warranty. You can drive it on a track and they'll still cover it under warranty, which is totally polar opposite to Honda. So that's really interesting to know. Will, in North America, Hyundai step up and give us track warranty on everything they market? Elantra N, 276 horsepower and 289 pound-feet of torque out of a 4-cylinder, 2-liter turbocharged motor. This thing is manual transmission, so I stick with 276 horsepower. If I got the automatic, I would have a button on the steering wheel that says N Grin, and that gives me an extra 10 horsepower to 286 horsepower. Here's the deal. If you get manual like this, you get 5.3 if you're accelerating to 60. If you get the automatic, you get 5 seconds. That's what it does, 0 to 60. Drive modes. You get 3 of them: Eco, Normal, and Sport. But we're not going to use them. We're going to use the N mode. When you press the N mode, you get this fiery flame. Fiery flame, English boy. Manual transmission. Exhaust opens up the baffles. It breathes. Not my car. Don't want to burn the clutch. So we'll just light launch this thing. A little bit of bunny hop. I get a shift light. People say this thing shifts. The shifter is like economy, and I don't know what they're talking about. These synchros are perfect. The short throws are short enough. They're not long, they're good. You get a little backfire there, a little poppity, poppity, pop, pop, pop. Not a crazy amount, a good amount. Not like some of the crazy BMWs of the day. Really good package. Really happy with the shifting, really happy with the steering. The steering is really good. Now, obviously different driving modes will give you the different steering inputs. Obviously if you're in comfort or eco, it's soft, very light to use, quiet inside. But even in the sportiest mode they have, which is the N mode, it's not loud and obnoxious from the exhaust standpoint. In here it's not loud, it's a little bit loud, but it's engagingly loud. It's way more fun to drive than this BMW i4 that we have, which is crazy fast. This thing is 5 seconds or 5.3 with this manual, but once you're up and going, you're not noticing the difference between this and the automatic. I really like the Veloster, the DCT, and that's what this thing has, that you can get. Same transmission, because it's exact same powertrain or power plant as the Veloster, but I like the long wheelbase in this thing because it's not as jumpy, not as edgy. This thing is like smoother around corners, and I wouldn't say you can power slide this thing, but oh, I love it. It's light. It's 3,185 pounds, which is light in today's world for what you get. Everything is 4,000 pounds, and electric cars are 5,000 pounds. Tires are good, lots of grip. So back to this cluster, it shows as high as 360 newton meters of torque, which is so cool to see. A number which says 360 newton meters of torque is so cool. And this, the clarity of this cluster, and you can totally customize it. Like, you've got customizations as crazy as steering, three modes, suspension 3 modes, rev matching 3 modes, which I don't use rev matching. This button right here you can hit off and on. I just like to engage my own clutch with my own throttle. You can adjust your LSD, which is the most important piece of this car. When you go around the corner, it's got an electronic ELSD. When you're on it, it does hook. It makes it feel, because it transfers power to the outside wheel, it makes it feel that it's not like losing traction like a lot of the cars that are front wheel drives with power. It's engaging, and yes, you can adjust the ESC, the level of it, and then of course your exhaust sound, which I always leave at the maximum sound. They've tuned the suspension. The suspension is tuned, it's electronic controlled and tuned, but also the brakes, because they pre-fill the master cylinder, so when I'm on the brakes, as soon as I'm off the throttle and I'm on the brakes, they're already engaged, they're already pressurized. But it's got an electronic limited slip that helps to hold me together. But besides that, it's got an integrated axle, which means they're not 2 separate parts, it's one piece. And they've saved 4.5 pounds or something like that of unspring weight. That shows when I'm going around this corner that's light. My steering is light. On the brakes, great. Oh my God, it's just so good. What a great little track car. But it's not little. It fits people in the back. Ooh, look at this front end. How scary is it? It's very busy, and it doesn't really match. They've added this black colored thing as opposed to the regular Elantra. Also, this design, I wish they made the Hyundai badge a little bit smaller, or at least blacked it out. And I wish they added an aluminum hood instead of a heavy steel one. But it does its job. You see, when you see it from the front, it's wide, it's low, it's got these Lambo red pieces on the bottom. Interesting. But when you look closely enough, you will notice that all this air gets pushed right into this actual functional vent that flows all the way through and back. And when you look underneath the car, you will see it's actually created for downforce. Elantra? So the side of the Elantra is where it gets interesting. Let's start with the most important part, the brakes. You see, they're 14.2 in size, but what they actually do is they apply pressure on the brake booster, so once you let go of the accelerator, the brakes are automatically ready to go, and that really helps, especially when you've got Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's as standard. At this price point, yeah, they're 19 standard no matter what and you buy in the country, because they come one way. In the US, you get to have a sunroof or no sunroof. In Canada, they are standard. There's only one way you can buy the car. Now you get a bunch of tidbits, N tidbits, which look like they've been added on by somebody who just really likes body kits. Like this, like this, like this. Yeah, it makes sense because it's an economy sort of fast car, I guess. But for me, it just takes it to the level of childish. Hyundai Elantra, my favorite part about you is the booty. And that is true because you are cut in all kinds of angles. Every single piece of this back end is cut and sculpted and done very, very well. The Elantra badging is super clean. Look at all the shapes and the back here. It is so, so nice. The front, not my favorite. The side, body kit kills it for me. But the back end is good. Obviously, I'd get rid of the red stripes because I believe anybody in their mid to late 40s isn't gonna buy one of these things with all this red around it. It's for the 20s. And with insurance costs nowadays, It's hard, it's so expensive. But this is an Elantra. This is Hyundai's second most popular vehicle for sales. So I get it. I know why they're doing this. Isn't that the best 4-cylinder exhaust note you've heard in a long, long time? Done by an Elantra? Oh my God, that's so funny. Look at the back. On the bottom here, you got deep valences. It is a good looking back end. This to me is why this car will sell, in my opinion. It is not a fastback. It is strictly just a trunk type design. And when you press this button, which is super clean, it opens up. And that button is just below the rear camera that's integrated so nicely. And the badge is a little bit smaller than the front, I think. You should make it smaller, Hyundai, or at least make it black. So if you want to put something in this trunk that is wide and long and you need to put the seats down, well, you have that brace in the way. Now the seats don't fold down 60/40, they just fold down as one simply by pulling this or this. It's simply just one piece, not two. But if you want to put something in, you've got 4 screws to remove, and that does come out, which is nice to know. Another interesting part they've done is they've actually have 2 little clips here that hold this rear carpet in. You see, most cars this class, it rolls over and this back carpet becomes sort of a mess. But not with this one. I like that. Does it look like I'm a bat? Back seat of the Elantra. Look how the seats fold down. They're a one piece and they don't have a pass-through. It's just a full panel that flows up and down. Now the back of these seats actually remind me of the Audi S4 or some A4 S-line trims that have this Alcantara or suede and leather in the middle. Nice quality this way. There's a lot of blue stitching around, which is odd because there's red everywhere in the car. I would expect this to have red stitching. Another thing I noticed is this headroom isn't the best. I've said it, 5'8", 5'8.5", or 5'9", somewhere in between depending on the shoes I'm wearing and how I like to stretch my back out, and my head hits, which is really strange. You'd expect this to have more headroom for something this size. There's absolutely no features back here, like nothing. There's no vents, there's no USBs, there's just window controls. That's it. Even the lighting back here is like amber, not even LED. So checking the box is just to fit 3 people back here. I must take friends. I must fit kids. I must have a car that's fun. Front seats. Front seat of the Hyundai Elantra N. BMW, is that you? Because look at these lights on the seats. All the blue everywhere. Blue, 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 blue. We do have scuff plates that say N on them as soon as you get in. You have aluminum pedals. You've got N on the shifter, N on the steering wheel. That is the part that wakes you up and feels alive. That is why somebody will buy this car. They don't care about the back seats. Same with the Volkswagen GLI. It's got absolutely nothing in the back seats. They suck. The GTI had better quality, but this is a GLI size. You see 4 doors, 4 full doors. The seats are better in this than the GLI. It just feels more sporty, more engaging. Even the door handles, they're not gray, they're not silver, they're definitely not chrome. They have this titanium look to them. They even have that on the tweeters above them. And there's 8 speakers supplied by Bose, if you must know. They also have these 3 stripes on the Alcantara on the door panel. Interesting. Now what's really exciting is how this overall cockpit looks. You see, the Veloster was terrible. It was just old-fashioned inside. Inside here is modern, it's uplifting, it's bright, it's very sporty. It just doesn't care about the people in the back. You see, there's 2 USBs down here, and they're only for the driver and the passenger. There's a wireless charger down there, which is nice to have. It doesn't seem to have wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. It does have wired, because when I press the phone projection button, it asks me to plug in through a USB cable. But that doesn't really matter because I have this cool N mode on the 10.2-inch screen that gives me so much depth into enjoying my car. It does have usual safety features like blind spot indicator. It does have keep you in your lane and lane centering. It doesn't have adaptive cruise control though, but again, this is a driver's car. But what it does have is pretty straightforward buttons like map, nav, radio, media. It does have hard buttons that you can turn, just easy to use. Not everything is digital. It does have a rear camera button because it does not have 360. And it does have different driving modes down here, which one would never use. You just use these N buttons on the steering wheel. It does have a really cool baffling system that when you press for the exhaust, it goes crazy loud, and then when you hit it again, it's nice and quiet. And to those that forgot what this is a handbrake. N mode, and look at the data it gives you. The throttle, the oil temperature, engine temperature, your revving, your lap timer, how much you press the brake. Like, look at that. That's awesome. Sweet. A different circuit. When I hit that button, you can choose between different circuits, different laps. Just is awesome to have on something like this. When I swipe over, it gets better. I can adjust all these different settings, different custom settings, the steering, suspension, rev matching, the electronic LSD, the stability program, and of course my favorite, the exhaust sound. Tied with the LSD. These two are my favorite. That guy is obviously important. That guy couldn't care about. Steering, yes, sort of, but I can figure it all out. But that guy, without an LSD on a car like this car is useless. Thank you, Hyundai. And then you have a launch control button that you can simply hit and activate. And then you can see some history in terms of a G-force meter. It is an active real-time G-force meter that saves some of the old data you have. And then of course you can choose more technical options like launch control. When do you want to set launch control up? And then a shift light. You have a shift light that blinks at you when you hit a different RPM gauge that you set. And then of course your little fakie sound on how much change you'd like to have. And then depending on what mode you're in, you can choose different settings like TCR, which emulates the TCR race car from Hyundai. But moving down to the shifter, there is more blue and more N, along with a little handle you have to pull up to go into reverse. Below that, you do have two cup holders that have this little plastic thing so you can fit something a bit smaller, and a lot of just shiny gloss black. It's just fairly economy, including this grab handle that's sort of really flexible. But who cares about that? It's all about the drive. Hyundai, man, you've done a good job. Very reminiscent of my Integra Type R. Very reminiscent. A little bit longer wheelbase. This car's bigger than I expected. And when I saw it, I was like, man, this is a pretty big sedan. How well can it actually handle? But with the strut brace in the back and this limited slip on the front and just really good tuned suspension that has different levels, it's electronically controlled. It's not just one suspension, it's electronically controlled. So you have different like damping settings. I keep saying dampening. But it's just so engaging. And all these electric cars we have, as cool as they are and as easy as they are to drive, and all the settings and the driving itself and the softness of it and the cool sculpting designs that they have, it just missing soul. And front wheel drive soul is just different. It's like you have to work the car to move, and yeah. If you want to see me smile, just watch the video on repeat all the time because this thing is awesome to drive. Love it. So I said I wasn't a huge fan of all the red around this car, but hey, beauty is in the eye of the beholder because my son back there,
yeah, I love it.
He loves it. So because of that, I will say that my opinion probably doesn't matter much. My opinion matters when it comes to the driving, the feel of it, the 6-speed, the engagement of the car, and that is spot on. At this price point, cannot beat it. So with that said, I hope you guys subscribe because we need all the people we can get, because the only way we'll get cars if we have your support. So please, please, please subscribe. No begging here, unless of course you want to buy our merch. That's a whole different story. So the next video we have is this against the Kona N, which are very, very similar, same cars almost. More N stuff. Looking forward to it. So we'll see you guys in the next one.